The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization. Hello and welcome once again to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Now this week we're going to explore the politics of Khela Hobe. Now I know Khela Hobe has become a divisive term. If you're a TMC supporter, it's identified with the battle that the TMC fought against the BJP at election time in Bengal. The BJP sees it as synonymous of the political violence unleashed against their cadres in Bengal. But today, it's about Khela Hobe Part 2, the alleged master plan of the Trinamool to project Mamta Banerjee as a viable national alternative to Prime Minister Modi by 2024. Now, over the last few weeks and months, and certainly in the last few days, Mamta Banerjee has been on what is best described as an acquisition spree. The latest example was in Meghalaya, where 12 of the 17 Congress MLAs, including the former Chief Minister Mukul Sangma, have switched sides and joined the Trinamool. Effectively, the Congress has been broken in Meghalaya. Now, all of this was happening while Mamta Banerjee was in Delhi, pointedly chose not to meet Sonia Gandhi, but instead welcomes or meets the BJP maverick leader Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, then gets the likes of former test cricketer turned BJP MP turned Congressman Kirti AZad, former JDU MP Pawan Verma, and a former Haryana Congress chief Ashok Tanwar to all join the Trinamool Congress. Now, none of these politicians mentioned here can be termed in any way as heavyweight politicians. Far from it. Most, you would say, are past. Some would accuse them of being past their sell-by date into their Vanaprastha mode. But taken together, and that's significant, the message is clear. And this is all about messaging at the moment. The message is that Mamta Banerjee is the go-to person today for all those who are looking for new pastures to challenge the Modi leadership. In particular, those from the Congress party who feel that the party at the moment is drifting into some kind of political wilderness are being offered a ready option by the Trinamool Congress. Now, most of the veterans like Dr. Swamy are probably looking for a re-entry into the Rajya Sabha. Remember, Dr. Swamy's Rajya Sabha term expires in May 2022, and maybe Dr. Swamy, who's been critical of Mr. Modi on several occasions, wants to join hands with Mamta and get that Rajya Sabha seat. Now, look at the effusive tweet he gave after meeting Mamta. Of all the politicians I have met or worked with, Mamta Banerjee ranks with JP, Morarji Desai, Rajiv Gandhi, Chandrasekhar and PV Narasimha Rao, who meant what they said and said what they meant. In Indian politics, that is a rare quality. Now, of course, Swamy is known to shoot off his mouth, but Mamta's plan appears to be that by getting the likes of Swamy to endorse her, it sends a message to the Hindutva flock in particular that far from being anti-Hindu, she is acceptable to even some of the most strident voices of the Saffron Army. Whether Swamy joins the Trinamool Congress or not is immaterial. His tweet will remain there on his timeline. Now, interestingly, some of the other acquisitions. Ashok Tanwar, and before that, Mahila Congress Chief Sushmita Dev, who's now heading the TMC in Tripura. She's got those who were once considered close to Rahul Gandhi to switch. Then in Goa, she's got a former Chief Minister Luzdin Falero to switch sides ahead of the Goa elections, again someone perceived to be a Gandhi family loyalist. Effectively, the message being sent out is no one is untouchable at the moment. This is open season as far as the TMC is concerned. Now, the fact is that the man behind Mamta is Prashant Kishore and to some extent her nephew Abhishek Banerjee. Prashant, remember, is the same election strategist who only a few months ago was in dialogue with the Congress and was planning to join, we were told, the Congress party. Well, it seems that Kishore now believes that the Congress under the Gandhi leadership is simply in no place to challenge Narendra Modi. Or we could argue that his ambitions are such that he feels they will never be fulfilled within a party like the Congress, and therefore better to stick to the TMC. His brief seems to be clear. Pitch Mamta slowly but surely as a national alternative. And there are various phases, and this is the inside story I'm giving you. Phase 1, the focus is on Eastern India first, especially the Northeast. Now remember, Bengal has 42 Lok Sabha seats and the entire Northeast has another 25. Add the two together, it becomes 67 seats, which is effectively the second largest chunk after Uttar Pradesh. Phase 2 of this mission, Khela Hobe Part 2, seems to be to target those states where the TMC believes it can emerge as an alternate in any direct Congress-BJP fight. Hence the move into Goa, a small state which goes to the polls a few months from now. Gujarat too, which also goes to the polls in 2022, is on the radar, as is Himachal Pradesh. Find Congress leaders in these states, disgruntled leaders, and pitch them as potential alternatives in the belief that the Congress is struggling, and create a buzz that the Congress could implode at any time. So target Congress is phase 2. Phase 3 seems to be to try and create a mix of alliances, mergers and more acquisitions in the Hindi heartland. This, of course, is perhaps the toughest task. Remember, the Hindi heartland is where the BJP's support comes from. Now, the acquisition, for example, in Varanasi of the Kamlapati Tripathi family of the Congress, and there is buzz that even Varun Gandhi could be on the radar. All of this again to create the impression that Mamta is emerging as a player even in the Hindi heartland. Phase 4, tie up with other regional satraps in the south like Jagan Mohan Reddy in Andhra, MK Stalin in Tamil Nadu, maybe a KCR in Telangana, expanded then to a Pawar and a Shiv Sena in Maharashtra as well. Try and build a grand federal coalition. Remember, Kishore has worked interestingly with both Jagan and Stalin. And phase 5 is when, maybe 6 months ahead of 2024, be projected as the leader of this grand coalition and aim to get at least 150 seats of these non-Congress, non-BJP parties, and then possibly play for higher stakes. Now, of course, the question is, can this master plan of Mamta, Abhishek and Prashant Kishore really succeed? Let's be clear. In areas like Goa, we are already seeing that the Trinamool Congress has been unable to make much of a dent. I mean, Leander Pace may be an ace on the tennis court. Politics is a little different. And politics in states like Goa, small states like Goa, is very different, very localized, shaped by strong local regional identities. You can't transfer football and fish from the East Coast to the West Coast that easily and build political support overnight. By contrast, in Tripura, which is geographically and culturally more proximate to Bengal, there is every reason to believe that the Trinamool Congress may have something to build on. The Hindi heartland is going to be tough, very tough, because here the BJP is dominant. Here there are other parties like Samajwadi Party, BSP, which are already entrenched, and the Congress in states like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan has a formidable organization. The key, though, therefore, to this entire plan is the Congress. Because will the Congress suffer more electoral defeats in 2022? Will the Congress revive slowly if it can retain Punjab, maybe win Uttarakhand, maybe win Himachal, make a fight in Goa and Manipur, and gain some traction in UP and Gujarat in 2022? Or will the Congress begin to continuously evaporate or melt away? That is the real key. Mamta's master plan, or the Mamta Kishore master plan of Khela Hobe Part 2 can only succeed when and if the Congress loses ground rapidly in the next 12 months. This is why I am now calling the 2022 string of assembly elections the IPL style eliminator round. Remember, the BJP is the party number one. It has qualified for the finals of 2024. The race is on to find out who emerges as the prime challenger to the BJP. There is Rahul Gandhi and the Congress. There is Mamta and the TMC. And there is Arvind Kejriwal as an X factor with the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, Rahul has the advantage of the Congress's lingering brand value, the substantial base vote of the party, and his own sense of personal idealism. The TMC has Mamta's fighting spirit, a strong home base in Bengal, the common touch that Mamta has, plus she's the only significant woman politician now nationally in a way. Aam Aadmi Party has Kejriwal's anti-establishment image and the advantage, importantly, of not being tied into any regional identity politics. That baggage isn't there, so it can expand perhaps a little in other states. My sense, therefore, is 2022 isn't going to be so much as a contest with the BJP and the opposition, but an eliminator contest amongst the anti-BJP forces to decide kaun banega challenger. For now, this fragmented opposition means advantage BJP, because they can then benefit from this competition that's taking place. But I believe net, by the end of 2022, we may well know who is the winner of the eliminator contest, and we will know if the Khela Hobe Part 2 experiment of Mamta Banerjee has worked or not. As I always say, in politics, picture abhi baki hai. That's it on the Straight Bat. Thanks for watching. Stay well. Do watch and subscribe my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, Namaskar, Jai Hind.